Steve Merril back with your NFL Fade the Public video for Week 18, final Sunday of the NFL regular season right here on WagerTalk TV. I'm going to give you the 6 most public sides for the final day of the NFL regular season. I'll let you know if we should play them or fade them. That information coming up free for you right now. Once again, this is Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com, right back here on WagerTalk TV. And we're breaking down Week 18, which is maybe the final week of the regular season, but it's also the final week of the preseason. We've come full circle back to August. These games are tricky. Look, some teams are resting starters. Some teams have nothing to play for. Other teams have a lot to play for. No official public plays this week. What I'm going to give you is the 6 most public leans. And the reason I'm calling these leans is because, once again, the consensus data is a little fishy. We don't do it in the preseason for good reason. And we tread lightly in Week 1 and also Week 18. But I'm going to give you what I think are the most public sides this week. And we're going to dig a little bit deeper also to let you know if we should play them or fade them, and also what, and most importantly, are some of the playoff implications in these NFL games. Now, of course, they do a staggered start. So, a lot of the games are at 1 o'clock between teams that have the same thing to play for. Then there's some late 4:25 Eastern games. 5 of the 6 public sides actually are early games at 1 o'clock Eastern. So we'll go down in schedule order, and then we'll get to that late afternoon game for you on Sunday. Let's start first with one of the more public sides this week, and it goes at 1 o'clock Eastern. It's actually one of the most public ones. These are all leans. This is about as public as any of them. That's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, huge favorite against the New Orleans Saints. Tampa, of course, has plenty to play for. In fact, they must win to make the playoffs and win the division. Otherwise, if they lose, then they need the Atlanta Falcons to lose as well, which is unlikely because Atlanta is an 8-point favorite against Carolina. So it's win the division, get the 4 seed for Tampa. So it's very straightforward. And the other side of the equation, of course, is the New Orleans Saints are terrible. The public wants nothing to do with New Orleans, nor do I blame them. We took a shot with New Orleans last Sunday. I had a perfect 12-0 Sunday best bet run going over the previous 3 weeks. We are now 12-2 the last 4 Sundays. So, yes, we still have a fantastic Sunday best bet record, but one of those losses was the darn New Orleans Saints last Sunday. I wasn't going to lay points with the Raiders on the road, but the Saints' offense is just decimated. Spencer Rattler does not appear to be the issue, to be the solution to the issue. This team has now scored 14 or less in 4 of their last 5 games, and they've lost 4 of their last 5 games straight up and against the spread. It's a must-win situation for Tampa that is obviously priced into the number. And by the way, historically speaking, just playing against these teams in must-win situations has been a moneymaker in the month of December for decades. But I'm in no hurry to do so here. Look-ahead line this summer was 2.5. Tampa was a 2.5-point favorite this summer. Now it's 14. Has started to go to 14.5 in some spots. At that point, maybe you step in with the Saints. But once again, Tampa or pass for me, as they have plenty of incentive. And New Orleans just doesn't have the offense to play from behind. All right, another public play at 1 o'clock Eastern. The next game on the rotation is the Buffalo Bills minus 3.5. And this one is interesting because Buffalo has absolutely nothing to play for. They are locked into the 2 seed. Kansas City is locked into the 1 seed. They have the bye. Buffalo's the highest seed for the divisional round next week, or wild card round, whatever we call it now. And they're locked in with the 2 seed at home. So this game is meaningless. Will they play Josh Allen? The betting markets look like they think they might at least play him for a half, because Buffalo is currently a 3.5-point favorite in the game, even though they have absolutely nothing to play for. And keep in mind, we did fade the public with the Patriots a few weeks ago and also had a strong client best bet. Part of that 12-0 sweep for 3 straight Sundays was a best bet on New England 2 weeks ago as a 14-point dog, and they were up 14-0 in what I thought was a letdown spot for Buffalo. That was part of the equation, but this is obviously a flat spot for Buffalo. They have nothing to play for here. Now, it is expected that Josh Allen's going to start. He wants to try to get the MVP. So if you're going to play Buffalo, the minus 2.5 first half is probably the safer option. Whereas if you like New England, I'd take the plus 3.5 for the game. Drake May has actually been capable of quarterback. And the look-ahead line this summer was exactly 3.5. How crazy is that? It's exactly where it is, even though New England's been terrible. And the over-under this summer is 44.5. It's now 36.5. If Josh Allen plays at all or a decent amount of time, that over could be worth a look for that reason. As far as the first half total here, it's 17.5, 18. So it's right above that key number. But once again, Buffalo has absolutely nothing to play for. I would fade the public here and be on the Patriots plus 3.5 if you need to play it. If you are playing the Bills, I think you're much better off playing minus 2.5 first half, because Josh Allen will be in there for a while, but I can't imagine my classmate Sean McDermott would leave him in for the entire game. All right, let's keep it going. The next game on the rotation, also a public play at 1 o'clock Eastern, or a public lean once again. I call all of these leans in Week 18. and that's the Green Bay Packers minus the 9.5 to minus 10 against the hapless Chicago Bears. You'll notice a trend here. A lot of these teams are just hapless, and that's why the public wants nothing to do with them. Bears have now lost 10 straight games. Of course, the Giants had lost 10 straight games going into last week, and they put up a lot of points against Indianapolis. Packers a little bit better than the Colts, and Green Bay also coming in here off a 2-point loss against Minnesota. Last time they lost a game was against Detroit 4 games ago. They came back to smoke Seattle. In fact, the Packers have just dominated bad teams this season. Their only losses this year came against Philly in Week 1 in Brazil, and they've lost twice to Detroit, and they've lost twice to Minnesota. So they should be able to handle Chicago. And keep in mind, Chicago actually gave them a scare. It was that first game when they had the new offensive coordinator, now the interim head coach, Thomas, when he was there a month and a half ago, Chicago missed a late field goal. Otherwise, they could have won that game outright, which would have been a fairly substantial upset, obviously. So if the Packers keep that motivation, maybe that'll be enough to keep them focused and win by margin here. As far as the playoff situation, this does transition in to the Commanders, who I'm going to talk about. Not my Washington Commanders in just a moment. The Commanders and Packers are locked into the 6 and 7 seeds. Packers are locked into the playoffs regardless of the outcome here. They can be a 6th seed with the win and a Commanders loss as a favorite against Dallas. So it's not too likely that they're going to get the 6th seed. So once again, in no hurry to lay 10 with Green Bay in a situation they might be resting guys. If you're going to play the Packers, you probably look first half, which is currently 6.5 to 7. Minus 6.5 first half might be worth a look, as they probably get off to a strong start and then maybe pull back as it's a nothing to play for game. Let's go to that next game. Let's talk about the Commander game next, because that's also a 1 o'clock Eastern game. And as I mentioned earlier, the Commanders win, they get the 6th seed. Otherwise, they have to lose, and the Packers would have to win. So Washington does have something to play for here. And currently, they are about a 6.5-point home favorite in this game. Also, by the way, minus 3.5 would be the situational first half line. So it's right above that key number. Overall, minus 3.5 for the first half or minus 6.5 for the game is what you're looking at with the Commanders in this game Sunday at Dallas. I want nothing to do with the Cowboys. They're decimated. Yes, they've turned it on in recent weeks. Cooper Rush has looked serviceable. In fact, you remember when they played Washington at the end of November, I recommended Cooper Rush passing yards prop over, and that was a nice winner for us at the end of November. And they have played pretty well with him in general. This team is 4-2 straight up their last 6, but I think now they're a little bit overrated because of that. Yes, the public is leaning towards not my Washington Commanders, but I would agree with that. Commanders do have a little bit to play for, more than Green Bay, because they control their own destiny. If they win, they get the 6th seed, whereas Green Bay would have to win and hope Washington loses, which isn't likely. So I think the Commanders are probably a safer option, full game, than the Packers might be. But once again, both teams are in the playoffs. Commanders have a little bit more to play for at 1 o'clock Eastern. And then the final 2 games we'll talk about here in the video here. The final 1 o'clock Eastern game is actually the last game on the schedule, and it would have been flexed. It's actually flexed out of Sunday Night Football, and that was the Eagles against the Giants. Philadelphia has absolutely nothing to play for in this game, and they will be resting starters. In fact, if you just look at the overall situation here, there's no reason for them to play anybody, as they are just like the Bills, locked into the number 2 seed in the NFC playoffs. So they don't get the bye. The winner of the Vikings-Lions game Sunday night gets the bye and the 1 seed. The loser gets the 5 seed, which is just crazy how much they'll fall. But the Eagles are locked into the 2 seed. They have to play next week, but they'll have the easiest opponent, which will be either the Commanders or Packers. And that's what's kind of interesting, is that you probably don't want to play the Packers. Packers would be a dangerous 7 seed, in my opinion. I think they're better than the Commanders. So it will be interesting to see how that plays out. But Philly has nothing to gain. They are going to rest guys. Jalen Hurts is out again. Now, Saquon Barkley, whether he plays or not, will be interesting. He's 101 yards away from breaking Eric Dickerson's all-time single-season rushing record. So there is some thought they'll try to get that. But 101 yards is a lot to get. So I personally would not see him in there. Once again, if you're going to look at the Eagles, I think the only way to play it would be the first half -1. But I want nothing to do with them in this game. Current line is 2.5, by the way. Giants have been atrocious, but Drew Lock and company did move the ball offensively. They snapped that 10-game losing streak I referenced earlier with an impressive 45-point burst and almost 389 total yards last week against the Colts. So if the Eagles aren't focused, if they're resting guys, Giants might be capable of moving the ball again in this game. The total, by the way, is only 36.5, 37. 37, a very key number, about a 4 to 5% chance the game lands on exactly 37 points. So at 36.5 or less, I do think there's some value with the over, but you just don't know what you're going to get with Philly with the backups in there offensively. McKee, the second-year player out of Stanford, is going to play. He'll be the starter. McKee, the young quarterback out of Stanford. He did have 54 passing yards, a 156 rating, and 2 touchdowns in limited action against the Cowboys last week. But still a lot of uncertainty there with the Eagles overall. All right, finally, the late game, the one late game, your sixth public lean this week is at 4:25 Eastern, and that's the LA Chargers at on the road in that game. That game been moved later at Las Vegas. It's now a 4:25 Eastern start, and they are a 3.5-point opener, and now it's 4.5 in most spots. By the way, the summer line in this game was 1. It's now 4.5, so not a huge difference. Raiders, another team that's all of a sudden turned it on. Everyone says they want the first-round pick. Teams toss the towel. That just doesn't happen in the NFL. And that's another reason why playing bad teams in December in general has made you money over the years, because the lines are inflated, like most of these games I'm talking about, and the teams don't quit. First of all, it's a physical sport. You're going to get hurt if you don't have your head on a swivel out there. Second of all, the players don't care. They still have incentives, contract bonuses. They want to play well. And the coaches usually don't care either, because they're usually on the hot seat. They need to win. They're not going to be around to benefit from the number 1 draft pick. And the Raiders of the Giants last week snap a 10-game losing streak. They win. They have a chance of winning this week. Raiders have now won back-to-back games after a 10-game losing streak against Jacksonville and, of course, New Orleans, as I talked about earlier. Chargers, though, do have maybe something to play for here. It depends. Now, I'm doing this video on Saturday afternoon. I wanted to wait as long as possible to get the most public consensus data and also the most up-to-date personnel data on who's playing and who's not. But once again, I don't have the results of those 2 Saturday AFC North games, which will determine a little bit here, because the Chargers are locked into either the 5th or 6th seed. The Steelers have to beat the Bengals, and if the Steelers do win that game on Saturday night, then the Chargers have nothing to play for. So once again, Steelers slight home dog to the Bengals. Depending on that result, if they beat the Bengals, the Chargers have nothing to play for. Otherwise, they could show up here. So once again, a lot of uncertainty on this game. Just keep an eye on that Pittsburgh-Cincy result, as that will determine if the Chargers are playing for anything. Here again, if they aren't playing for anything, first half result is probably the first half option is probably the best option. It's -3, or a few 3.5s out there. But once again, instead of laying the 4.5, -3 first half might be a little safer, but you're obviously paying a premium as well with that one. All right, Week 18 is tricky. Hope you found the video useful. I wanted to give you the playoff scenarios, who's playing, who's resting guys. It's really like handicapping the preseason all over again. So those are all public light leans, no official plays, but still the most 6 public leans this week. Hope you found it useful. If you did, comment below. Let me know how you're attacking Week 18 here in the NFL, what sides and totals you like, any player props as well. Hey, contract bonuses, right? Maybe some player props, guys on losing teams that want to get to certain incentives. Always are good looks for overs. Hey, if you got some player prop info, drop it. I love the analysis as well, because I read the comments and I reply back. Don't forget, thumbs up, like also on these free play videos, and subscribe and click the bell for an instant alert. Put this one up a little bit later this week because I wanted to get the most updated information. But when you click the bell, when you subscribe, you get an instant alert the minute all the free play videos are posted each and every day. Once again, comment below, thumbs up, like, click subscribe, and hit the bell as well here on WagerTalk TV. And on the way out, it's New Year. Happy New Year. If I haven't talked to you since January 1st, Happy New Year. Don't forget, my 1-year all-access special is still available with an instant $811 discount. Take a true long-term investment approach in 2025. Last year, 2024 is behind us. We had a monster year, up over 130 units for my clients. We more than doubled our bankroll just 10 months into the year, finished up over 130 units. If you started with the $10,000 bankroll, you finished with over a $23,000 bankroll in just 1 year. Let's do it again here in 2025. It works out to about $1 a day with promo code, $1 a play, about $3 a day, about $1 a play with promo code SM365. Once again, go to my page, Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com, select the 1-year all-access pass, and at checkout, use promo code SM365 for an instant $811 discount off the normal rate. Why $811? Because that gets it down to exactly $99 a month, $3 a day, just over $1 a play for every college and pro football, college and pro basketball, and Major League Baseball best bet for the next 365 days and nights. Take a true commitment to winning, set a true investment approach to sports betting in 2025, and win big. Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com. Hey, get there quicker with shortcut WT.buzz/SM. That promo code listed on my page, along with full details about the instant $811 discount for the 1-year all access, promo code SM365. And while you're there, check out a daily free play. I try to post a free basketball or football play every day on my page with analysis. It's one of my last cuts, games that are just a bit outside, go up as free plays each day as well. Check it out. Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com. Hey, don't forget to follow me on social media on X and Instagram at Steve Merril. 2 R's, 1L. You know the deal. 2 R's, 1L at Steve Merril on X and Instagram. And stay tuned here to Wager Talk TV because you know there's more free play videos coming up next.